Hi, Brad.
Hey Martin, how you going?
Yeah, good. So, I thought I'd show you COPNZ today.
Great, yeah. Let's see what you got. I'm excited.
Don't sound too enthusiastic.
No, I'm very excited. This is a 25-year story in the making.
In the making. Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. So, I'm going to share my screen and show you COPNZ. Obviously, we've been through this a couple of times, so jump in as we go through. Let me just share my screen.
Yes.
All right, great. So, as you can see, this is our kind of COPNZ landing page. It's on the, you can see the URL at the top, www.copnz.com. And there's a number of options here. You can look at some of the background to what we've been working on. And then we can log into COP just on this button here, which takes us to a login screen here. I obviously have a username and password set up, so I'll just log in with that. We have two modes. So in all of our sim products, we have two modes. So exercise mode obviously is for exercising, training, etc., tabletops. Normal mode is for real incidents. So for demo purposes, we'll go into the exercise mode, if I click it properly. And then we go into the platform. So here when we come in, we've got all the kind of demo events, live demo events that we've got in the system. We're just going to show a weather event, a generic weather event for the purposes of this demo. So I can just close this kind of welcome screen. And then we've got the initial kind of screen that you get when you first log in. So the way that we set this up right now is to really mirror the Sims framework and roles in the Sims model. So across the top here we have all the Sims roles, which we'll go into in a second. And then we have our lifelines collaboration buttons across the top as well. We also then have another further collaboration space that I'll show you at the top. And then each of these screens can be configured. So this technology is effectively a configuration of modules that can be configured in any way you like. So we have configured it to look like this for the purposes of this demo, but as you can see, there's different screens for different purposes, which can be configured very quickly and easily. Any questions so far, Brad?
No, that's all good. And I guess, obviously from the Sims point of view, currently set up looking at potentially a regional response here. Obviously, we've got the options for national, regional and local.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we'll just go just show you quickly the different role tabs here. So if I'm the incident controller, I can log into the system with my username and password, as I did just a second ago, and click on my incident controller tab. And that takes me into my incident controller screen. So this is kind of two main components on this screen for the incident controller. Again, we can change the configuration if necessary, if NEMA or any councils want this set up differently. So you come in here as the incident controller, and there's, like I say, two main components. We've got kind of an overview of the incident on the left-hand side and a action card checklist component on the right-hand side. So here on the left-hand side, we have just an overview of the event at the top. And then if we scroll down, we've got different areas that can populate as we go through the incident. So any reports and meetings that are done, we can configure who's in the crisis management team. We can look at focus areas, and we can look at meetings and scheduling meetings on the new meeting button here, which we'll look at in a bit.
And those action cards then, Martin, so they're as I can see, they're replicating what would traditionally be in the Sims 3rd edition playbook. So the incident controller there can basically tick off their actions as they work their way through the incident.
Absolutely. So like you say, Brad, we set up the actions to mirror the Sims framework here. So if I'm the incident controller, I come in here and I can only see my action cards. So if I click on the initial action card, I can come in here like Brad says, and I can start to execute the actions or the checklist that I need for this particular scenario.
And there's an option for particularly someone like the incident controller can potentially see other action cards in their area.
Absolutely. It's all permission based. So obviously this is an action card for the incident controller, but we can, if we want to, allow them to see another role's action card. So for example, here's a PIM action card. Again, it's all permission based. So we could make that visible here to the incident controller, or we could make the PIM action card invisible to the incident controller. It depends on how you want it set up. All right. So the other thing, so if I'm the incident controller and I'm clicking through these actions, I can also start to collaborate. So if this fourth checklist action I want to assign to somebody else, I can click assign as task, and then I can select a role if I want to. So if I want to assign this to the PIM, I can type that in here and the PIM role comes up as it's set up in the system here. I can assign it a priority, I can assign it a deadline, and I can then, the PIM will then receive a notification in the system, which means that they will actually get a system notification if they're logged into the system. And that PIM, the person that's in the PIM role, will also receive an email to notify them that they've had a task assigned to them from the incident controller. So that's where we start to collaborate amongst the different roles. So you can see here that action now, I cannot now tick that off because that tick box has disappeared, and that is now the responsibility of the PIM role. Make sense?
Yep.
Cool. So that's the tab for the incident controller, and if I go to logistics, for example, in logistics we've just set up a tracking board, like a logistics tracking board. Again, it's just a demo. We've just set up a load. It's a bit like a whiteboard in an EOC, so you can see a high level summary of what's going on. So we've got first aid, flood mitigation, and FENS have been assigned as resources to this incident, and it's just got some information about that. Again, obviously all made up for this demo. And the same happens if we keep going through. Intelligence has a different screen, so we have a number of things that the intelligence role can do here. They have action cards. Again, this is all permission based, so we can just make the intelligence action card visible here for the intelligence role if we want to, or we can make other action cards visible. We've just put a shipping tracker in here. If anything that's relevant that we can pull in via iframe can come into here. And then we've got severity descriptions in here, Brad.
Yeah, which is, again, recognise that from the Sims 3rd edition. So, again, available for that intelligence role to make some assessments.
So, like I say, we could write situation reports. So if the intelligence person clicks on situation reports, they can see the situation reports that have already been entered into the system, or they can create a new situation report themselves. Templates in here are fully customizable, so this could be a situation report template that NEMA uses or a council uses. This can be reconfigured to be exactly the same as those templates. So another neat thing in here is, well, we'll have a quick look at new messages. So if you need to send messages, you can send it within the system. You can have different message templates. For example, alerting all employees, mobilization of IMT, normalization message. Those are just templates that we have in here already. So these messages could go out to the team or wider, depending on what the message is and what the communication needs to be. All right. We'll come on to sim collaboration in a bit. I'm not going to go through all of these different roles. I think you get the idea. There's different screens for different roles, depending on what you want configured for the different Sims roles. And then I'll just show the PIM one as the last. So again, action cards for the PIM role. If we want to put that in here, permission based, like I say. So the PIM role can then come in and do their actions. And then we have interfaces with news sites, social media sites, a click of a button here. And then we actually have a running log at the bottom. If I go back to the home screen, we then can... Anything else on that, Brad, before I go through the lifelines?
No, I guess just looking at that, obviously we've got an R2 event which is escalating into R3, so again, useful information on that front screen for anyone logging in to see the status of a current incident, I guess. That's good.
And we should probably say that, you know, this whole platform is kind of... We've been developing this kind of in conjunction with Hastings District Council, that they really wanted to start to communicate more digitally with lifelines and agencies. Right now we've sat in exercises with Hastings District Council where they have an agency room adjacent to the EOC where they can physically go in and talk to agencies during an incident. They wanted to automate that and get some digital input from the agencies and lifelines into their platform. So they're already using a version of this software at Hastings District Council. So we've started to develop this way of getting situation reports directly from agencies and lifelines. So if I click on police, for example, we can give the police this QR code, which obviously is just really a link to a website landing page effectively. So if we give them this link, if we go back to the COP landing page and click on the SITREP, the link that the police get will effectively either, if they do that, if they scan that QR code with their phone, or they go to the link on their laptop or an iPad or whatever, it will give them a specific police situation report template that they can fill in. As soon as they have completed that and clicked on the send button on the bottom right, that will then appear in this list. So if I click on the police situation report, so this, obviously again it's a demo, but if the police had filled that in via this QR code, it then appears, as soon as they click send, it appears in this situational reports list, and we can get a real-time update from the police from the police directly.
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
That's just all happening in the background then.
It's all so this just exactly. So you're getting this list is populating by all the lifelines and agencies that are filling in those situation reports via a unique QR code that is assigned to each agency or lifeline.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll get rid of that. So I think the next thing, or probably the last thing just to go through, is the SIM collaboration space. So once you've had that situation report come in from the agency or a lifeline, so that applies to whatever lifelines or agencies you want to set up in the system here, we can start collaborating with them or anyone else for that matter. So effectively this is a collaboration room. So here we're actually testing this with the FENS guys. So we invited them to the room, and you can start, anyone that is invited to the room gets this view. So you can start to enter information or tasks or anything you want to communicate to another party in the room into the log manually here. We can also schedule meetings. If I go down to the bottom right here, we can schedule meetings by clicking on the schedule meeting tab. We can give it a name, and then we can actually invite people over Teams to a Teams meeting directly from the system here. We also have a detailed map of the incident. So here I can expand this out. But here we can have map layers. So for example, we are working right now with FENS to add a FENS layer. So FENS do their wide area assessment through the windscreen of their vehicles that go out to look at different suburbs. give an overall appraisal of what the situation is in those different suburbs. That information then goes into the FENS system, the FENS COP, and we can then add a layer directly from the FENS COP into this map, which would then give us a layer that shows us the different statuses of the different suburbs in a certain region during an incident. All right. The last thing I should say about the collaboration space here is if NEMA had this system and a council had this system, the collaboration log, the collaboration space allows you to interface with the other instance of this platform. So you would start to be able to assign tasks across different organizations effectively. So between NEMA and a council, for example, and you can start to really collaborate with that other entity.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good.
Cool. Anything else on there that I've missed?
No, I think the only other question I've got is obviously the system looks really intuitive. You know, what's the training sort of time to get people onboarded onto this?
Yeah. So when we set up the version before this with Hastings Council, so like I say, Hastings Council are using a version before this. This is a developed version. So they managed to do an exercise with this software without any training.
Right. Wow, that's great.
So that's kind of how intuitive they found it. They have since obviously had training, and they've used it extensively over the last year for their exercising and incidents. So
yeah,
this technology is also used extensively in Europe. So before, which is the basis of this technology, is a German company, and over 5,000 customers use this technology around the globe, with most of those companies, organizations being in Europe.
Yeah, great. And this is ready to go.
It's ready to go. This is all working. It can be reconfigured, but it's effectively a live working technology platform that can be used for incident emergency response.
Excellent.
Cool. Excellent. I think we've probably covered it, Brad.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that, Martin. That all makes sense.